You know, a few gamers are always involved in this really unhealthy debate of console wars, like the PS4 is better, the Xbox One is better, the Wii U is better. Why do I think of the console wars? Well, first of all, I live in Asia, so getting an Xbox is a complete turnoff for every cheap-ass managers ever, and Wii U is about as popular as me in high school, making the PS4 a clear winner in this specific region. However, I've played a PS4 console before, thank you rentals, and speaking to a friend of mine who does own a PS4, he said that the only good thing that came off of the PS4 is its controller. His PS4 library is about as empty as the new Ghostbusters theater, and he hasn't touched the console like ever. He literally took that controller, connected to his laptop using Bluetooth, fooled it into thinking that it was an Xbox controller, and used it to play Nintendo games. This crazy-ass hybrid experiment is the kind of thing that would put console wars to end and make everybody just bow to PC gaming for how fucking glorious it is. Anyway, how good of a gaming console really is, in my opinion, a really not so important discussion to have, and something that you should be ignoring, because if you don't have the games that support the console, what you end up with is a $400 piece of junk that sits in there and do nothing. On the other hand, I have a $500 portable piece of metal that I can bring anywhere and use it to make dumb videos on the internet and play thousands of video games. This console war discussion is not really that important, and in my opinion, the games are a lot more important. However, I'm not sure why Crack didn't put this on their list of 4 things that gamers think are important but aren't. And I gotta say, as soon as we dive into this article, we'll soon find out that Cracked is writing this article from my grandpa. Why? Well, let's dive into the article and find out, shall we?
I know what I want in a video game. I want a smart story, innovative gameplay, and to be challenged intellectually. At least, I thought that's what I wanted. But then I played the new Doom, which had none of that, but was also the most fun I've had in front of the TV in years. That's when I realized that I don't actually have the faintest damn clue of what I want in a game. And what I think I want is actually just a bunch of malarkey. Also, I'm bringing back malarkey. It's a good word.
I don't care what kind of fringe words you find in a dictionary to support your argument. What I do care about is, you know what you want in a video game, but you don't have the faintest damn clue of what you want in a video game. What? Why are you even playing video games? We play video games for fun. Okay. Entertainment. Fun is not a universal trait that every game should have. Yes, entertaining. Screw semantics. So Cracked. Let's see if you represent what gamers in the entire world thinks are important, but really aren't.
Absolute freedom means there's nothing to do.
Absolute freedom? We gamers already know that there are gonna be limitations of what a game can bring to us. Of course, there aren't gonna be absolute freedom to everything. Are you writing this to a gamer like me, or to my grandpa?
Freedom, baby, you feel me? More than just a word for the type of radiation given out by the American flag. Freedom is the greatest thing that a video game can offer you. In real life, we're trapped in this stupid human society with stupid laws and petty physical consequences for our squishy human bodies, preventing us from fulfilling our deranged fantasies. But in video games, anything is possible. That's why the best games are stuff like Grand Theft Auto and Minecraft. Ones that don't even tell you what to do. They just point at the world and say, all yours, my child. All yours. Also, here's a machine gun. And hey, did you hear about this No Man's Sky game? It's like that, but with an entire universe. There's so much goddamn freedom in that game that anyone who goes near it becomes riddled with malignant patriotic tumors. That much freedom guarantees it'll be awesome, right?
Okay, I think you represented GTA, Minecraft, and No Man's Sky quite adequately, let's just say. So, why is this not freedom, or at least not freedom enough?
Not to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but freedom in a video game is a lie, man. You're only ever doing what the video game was programmed allowed you to do, and that's always how it is.
Thank you, Captain Crackvius. Can I ask you what kind of cave have you been living in? And for the record, are you writing this article for my grandpa?
For example, take Grand Theft Auto. You can't do anything. You can do the violent, hyper-masculine activities the designers remember to program. That may be fun as hell, but it's still not freedom.
Do you know that Grand Theft Auto is all about the violent, hyper-masculine... Okay, you don't have to put everything in the gender context. How about hyper-violent activities? That works, right? It's not an exclusively masculine trait. Yes, GTA is all about this. And you're criticizing it because it's not too free, which means... What exactly? How many more activities did you need to add in GTA so that you could consider it free enough for you? How do you define what freedom is? What is freedom to you?
Even Minecraft, which seems like the purest sandbox game possible, still only lets you mine and repurpose materials into your own creations. You can't, say, try to sustainably coexist with nature. There's no granola munching hippie lifestyle in Minecraft.
Because that's what people want to play as in Minecraft?
Where'd you learn history? A cereal box?
Even if it is the case, there has to be mods of some kind about that. Minecraft is rife with mods, so I don't know what you're complaining, man.
And these limitations, it turns out, are what makes the game fun. If you don't give us direction, we get sorta lost.
Jesus Christ, this article really is written for my grandpa. The article goes into a more detailed criticisms of No Man's Sky that many people, including I, have said, but these are criticisms that are only specific to No Man's Sky. Don't lump it to other video games like Minecraft or GTA because they don't have that same amount of critique. And even then, there are some really stupid critiques.
This is why we defunded NASA in real life. It turns out, exploring is boring. Freedom...
Wait. What? Did you just equate open world video games to open world real life? Do you know that in real life, there's no such thing as an invisible wall that physically blocks you out? Do you have an idea how many uncharted stars that we haven't explored yet? How can you even think that they're the same thing? Who writes this?
Freedom, it turns out, isn't enough. Gamers need tasks. We need you to tell us to do something. We want you to make us think that we're free, where we're actually doing exactly what you want. That was the message of BioShock, right?
Yes, you're right. Gamers need tasks to do in that particular open world. That's what defines an open world game, the amount of activities that you can do inside that particular open world. This is a knowledge that pretty much every gamer who plays sandbox game already knows. Who are you writing this article for?
Movie quality stories, as long as they don't get in the way of our murder fantasies.
Well, I don't know about you, but I personally prefer a great gameplay rather than movie quality stories. Sure, games can have a movie quality story, and sure, I do like games that are focused on stories, but I still want entertaining and engaging gameplay.
I don't just play video games because they're hyper-violent fantasies or because I'm afraid of the mosquitoes and loud noises that are outside. I play them because of their great stories. Stories like in The Last of Us or BioShock or Spec Ops The Line. See? This is a real medium. Shakespeare would have probably written video games if he were alive now, I bet. For sure.
You play games for their great stories? Well, good for you, man. Good for you. I'm glad that you can find the games that suits your taste. Just don't insult other games for not doing it the way you want it to be. Which is what you're gonna do, right?
The reason video games don't have great stories is that they're games. Games are different from stories. The first goal of a video game is always to be fun. But somewhere along the line, we decided that the only way to have games to be taken seriously is to give them serious stories. So we decided to splice in cutscenes, whole chunks of the game in which instead of playing, we're watching a CGI movie. This is the equivalent of playing chess with your friend, but taking 5 minutes before your turn to explain the motivation of your rook and a tragic injury in his youth that prevents him from moving diagonally.
Yes, there are games that do that. But games are too broad, and every game handles their story elements differently. We can't always generalize them. For example, Just Cause 2's story was very poorly written, but that's just because it's just there as a framing device for you to parachute and hijack a plane midair before crashing down into a base and shooting everybody. The Uncharted games, however, use their generic third-person shooting gameplay as a gateway to tell their story. Spec Ops The Line also uses that generic third-person shooting gameplay as a gateway to tell the story and express their message. Games handle stories differently, and the wonderful part is, none of them are wrong. Go ahead and do it in whatever ways you want as long as you make it good and as long as it suits the premise of the game. So, what's the problem with that?
I remember loving The Last of Us' story, but when I think back on it, I realized that the story kept being hurt by the fact that it also had to be a game. In the beginning, Joel and his buddy ruthlessly murder like 50 dudes in the middle of a town, but we're still supposed to see him as a relatable hero? We're also supposed to be worried...
Wait. Joel kills people, therefore he's not relatable. Have you played The Last of Us? When you control Joel murdering 50 dudes in the middle of a town, which I assume happens right after the time skip in the prologue, do you understand that they're in the middle of a post-apocalyptic world where people are killing each other for survival? Like, how can you miss that particular context? How would you think we can make Joel relatable in that situation? By not murdering people? I am sorry, but in that particular setting, not killing people makes Joel to look like a moron. And I think I can understand why you couldn't relate to Joel, because he's not as moronic as you are.
We're also supposed to be worried about Ellie, even though she's invincible through all the gameplay, because otherwise that'd be irritating. The game that I played and the story that I was following were happening in two totally different worlds, so I kept having to switch.
Well, since you can only control one character and AI partners are notorious for being horrendous, they made Ellie to be invincible so that you as a player don't have to take too much to concern her. And you know what? That's a good thing, because it doesn't interrupt the flow of the story, and because you can only deal with your own business, and AIs are not doing so well doing their own business. Bioshock Infinite also did this as well. In fact, Elizabeth actually helps you throughout the battle by tossing you ammos for money. So the companion actually brings a positive impact and not a negative one. That, and it doesn't interrupt the flow of the story. It doesn't interrupt the flow of the gameplay. Because ultimately, that's the most important thing. The flow of the gameplay. Because the flow of the gameplay supports the narrative of that particular game.
That's when I realized that there are three types of great video game stories. Number one, thesis statements of the nature of video games, Bioshock, Spec Ops The Line. Number two, several dozen cool, loosely related ideas scattered around a map for you to discover on your own, Fallout, Oblivion, Dark Souls. Number three, something that would work better as a movie, The Last of Us.
Alright, which one of these are bad or good? Not every game focuses on story. Not every game has to be.
Calling this stuff stories is the same simplistic reductive thinking that leads game designers to throw in random references to sexual violence because they think it's mature.
Wait. What? When do game designers think that it would be a good idea to throw random sexual violence to make games more mature? This article shifts very quickly from being stupid to suddenly shoving gender politics. What kind of random sexual violence are you talking about? In what games did you refer to previously where these sexual violent cases occur? If it's Grand Theft Auto, can you give me an example? Why are you triggered with things that you just assume happens in video game even though you don't give a good example of it?
Gamers don't need to be movies. They can be games. They are games. Stop trying to make them something else. Why am I shouting at myself?
I really hate semantics sometimes. There are people who say that visual novels are not games in my previous video, which I don't care. I consider it a game. You disagree with that? Fine. It's a waste of time arguing what a real game is, or even what fun is.
F is for friends who do stuff together. U is for you and me.
Please shut up.
Cutting-edge graphics don't matter.
Yes, everybody knows about this. They don't matter. So, is this article written for my grandpa?
The first thing when you notice when a video game trailer hits are the sweet new graphics, which is what my friends and I used to say to each other when we were kids. And oh god, I hope that doesn't date me too much, for as long as I remember being alive, which I repeat is a non-specifically enough time, we've been chasing that dragon in a photorealistic game, apparently without really thinking about what it's gonna be like to shoot photorealistic people with photorealistic rifles.
1, how old are you? 2, how much experience that you have in video games, because it seems like you got very little. Gamers know that graphics don't matter since they play video games. Right now, most gamers don't really care. Undertale is one of the most successful games of last year, and the graphics are very much 8-bit. My 11-year-old brother plays games like Shovel Knight, Project Brutality, Unreal Tournament, Pokemon in the Game Boy Advance, Minecraft. He doesn't care about graphics, he only wants good gameplay. This has been pretty much the gamer's perception for years. Why are you mentioning this now as if it's a new thing?
And I know this is true because, as I covered in 2012, games use stereotypes as gameplay mechanics.
That is quite literally one of the worst topic segues that I have ever seen. Graphics, then all of a sudden, stereotypes, racism, sexism, like... Stay on freaking topic. Also, the way you know that graphics don't matter is fucking bizarre. You know that because you realize that games use stereotypes as gameplay mechanics? How the fuck does that two connect? And the actual list that they cited is even more ridiculous. Which is probably worthy for another video, but this article is already killing my brains.
Again, it's not because gamers are racist. You get in trouble if you don't say this every few sentences when discussing video games. Nobody really knows why.
Gee, I wonder why. Maybe because every single journalist are throwing racist bombs to everybody for completely innocuous things.
You pompous, stuck-up, snot-nosed, English, giant, twerp, scumbag, fuckface, dickhead, asshole!
It's because racism just happens to sync up with good game design as well. Like, holy mother of Cthulhu. Like, this is way too much stupid to handle, sir. This is way too much stupid. I can't handle this. I need to take a break for a moment. I need to take a break. The important part of the game isn't rich, evocative details or realistic sweat stain mechanics. We're only noticing that stuff if we stop playing the game for a few seconds, sit right next to our TV, and consciously pick it out. That has nothing to do with gameplay, and gameplay is why we bought the game, and not a Jackson Pollock print to stare at while scarfing the pizza bagels and energy drinks.
Apa hubungan ito dyan ni orang cibusan, bacot? Okay, crack. I'm on my breaking point. Try to at least make number one sound at least in some ways reasonable, alright? Just make it reasonable. Please. Please.
We want game devs to not be involved in the games.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. This is too much stupid. I am fucking done.
There were two recent gaming stories that, though they might seem totally different, are actually examples of the exact same attitude that gamers have developed. First, let's talk about No Man's Sky again. Putting everything else aside, the idea of a procedurally generated universe is pretty damn rad, right? The developers basically made an algorithm for animal and terrain design, and then the game, at least the parts that we see in play, designed itself. It's a mystery to both them and us that we got to discover together. Neat, right? Then there was an interview about Deus Ex Mankind Divided, a game that is set in a world with apartheid, but instead of between whites and blacks, it's between humans and Augs, technologically augmented humans. When asked how the game approaches this racism parable, the designer said, "We never say that a game if you were on one side of the debate or the other. If you think that they deserve it, that's perfect. If you don't think they deserve it, that's perfect." That's pretty cold, but
Being
at least
fucking neutral is cold to you. Gee, I wonder why. Is it because you're a serial fucking propagandist?
I never asked for this.
the weird thing is that in both those cases, we're excited that the game developers aren't involved in their own goddamn game.
What? Holy shit, like, I really wish that this article can't go any more stupid, but
I'm not gonna get into whether or not Deus Ex is racist for giving us the
it fucking doesn't! Have you played the fucking game? Continue.
I'm not gonna get into whether or not Deus Ex is racist for giving us the opportunity to support apartheid. Instead, I want to ask a simpler question. Why would I, or anyone, want that?
I don't like that topic, therefore everybody doesn't. Nobody will ever play Deus Ex Mankind Divided for tackling serious topics because I don't like it. The game will definitely not sell because this game is fucking racist, you piece of fucking shit.
Why would I want a game to just stick on a parable for racism up to my TV screen, then pull back and say, "Hey, I'm not saying if it's good or bad, that's for you to decide."
Because it's the topic of the fucking game that parallels to the one in the real world, you fucking asshole! Fuck you! Fuck you! Are you saying that we should shove our opinions up to fucking everything? Do we have to shove our opinions to everybody's throats in something that tries to be fucking neutral? You fucking propagandist!
Why the fuck did you bring up Black Lives Matter if you don't have anything to say about it? Imagine how weird that would be if at a party your buddy Chaz was like, hey, Black Lives Matter, huh? I mean, I'm not gonna tell you my opinion, just Black Lives Matter. It exists. That'd be weird. Stop being weird.
Because you can definitely have an everyday conversation with a video game.
It's the same with No Man's Sky. Why were we so excited to hear that computer designed every planet and every spaceship that we'd see in the game? Design is hard, man. I can't do it. That's what I'm paying the game developers for. Something they made. Something that has the marks of human effort to it. If I'm gonna spend my gaming time exploring a planet, I want somebody to have spent the time and effort to make the planet cool and fun to explore. And if I'm gonna play a video game about freaking racism, I want the game to say something about it instead of just stating that it exists. Because otherwise, man, this is all just a bunch of malarkey.
What? 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 You want me to comment on this? I have no fucking comment. I'm done. It speaks for itself. Fine. It's my job after all. You want games to talk about racism? You want games to have an opinion about racism instead of stay neutral? Well, you serial propagandists, make your own fucking game where you can shove your opinions to people's throats. Don't force game developers to make the game the way you and only you want it to be. Because what you end up with is people getting fired over their fucking job. Fuck this article and fuck you for writing this fucking bullshit and fucking you. Fuck you, Cracked. Do you know what time this is? It is a good time to take a moment to play some genuine stress relievers.